Welcome to Curivella. Tonight, we explore one of history's most haunting and enduring mysteries, the Lost Colony of Roanoke. It is a tale of hope, desperation, and silence. An entire settlement vanished without a trace, leaving behind only one cryptic clue carved into the wood of a tree. What really happened to the colonists? Where did they go when the world stopped watching? Before we begin, if you enjoy calm storytelling, historical mysteries, and relaxing long-form narration, please like this video and subscribe to Curivella. Your support helps us create more content like this, and it truly means a lot. Now, turn down the lights, sit back, relax, and let's step quietly into the past. The year is 1587. The world was vast, dangerous, and largely unmapped. England, eager to expand its influence across the New World, set its sights on the wild coast of North Carolina. One of its boldest attempts was a settlement on Roanoke Island, an expedition led by Governor John White, an artist and explorer with a vision of a permanent home. A group of 116 men, women, and children risked everything to join him. They boarded ships, leaving behind the cobblestone streets of England for the unknown green shores of America. These were not just soldiers. They were carpenters, farmers, blacksmiths, and families, all hopeful for a fresh beginning. Among them was John White's own daughter, Eleanor, and her husband. Shortly after arriving, Eleanor gave birth to a baby girl named Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the New World. This infant became a symbol of their hope, a fragile promise of the future in a strange land. But the dreams soon collided with a harsh reality. The supplies they had brought were insufficient for the coming winter. The soil was difficult to till, and tensions with local Native American tribes began to grow, fueled by misunderstandings and the aggressive actions of previous English military expeditions. Fear began to settle over the camp like a heavy fog. Realizing the colony could not survive without support, the settlers begged Governor John White to return to England for food, tools, and reinforcements. It was a heartbreaking decision. White had to leave his daughter, his newborn granddaughter, and his people behind in the wilderness. He stood on the shore, promising he would return quickly, perhaps in 3 months. As his ship disappeared over the horizon, he could not have known that fate would intervene. Upon reaching England, White found the country on the brink of war with Spain. The mighty Spanish Armada was approaching, and every available ship was commandeered by Queen Elizabeth I for the defense of the realm. For 3 long, agonizing years, John White was stranded in England, gazing west across the Atlantic, helpless, wondering if his family was safe. Finally, in 1590, the skies cleared, and White secured passage on a privateering ship. His heart pounded with anticipation as the vessel approached Roanoke Island on the day of his granddaughter's 3rd birthday. He imagined the reunion, the smoke rising from chimneys, the sound of children playing. But as he stepped onto the sandy shore, he was met not with cheers, but with a deafening silence. The air was still. The birds were singing, but human voices were absent. He walked toward the settlement, calling out their names, his voice echoing emptily against the trees. He found the colony completely empty. The sight was surreal. The houses were not burned or destroyed in battle. They were simply dismantled, carefully taken apart as if the departure had been planned. Tools were missing, presumed taken by the settlers. There were no bodies, no graves, and no signs of a violent struggle. Desperate for an answer, White looked to the trees. Before leaving 3 years prior, he had instructed the colonists that if they were forced to leave under distress or danger, they should carve a Maltese cross into a tree as a signal. White frantically searched the wooden palisade posts for this sign. He found no cross. Instead, he found a single word carved into a wooden post at the fort's entrance: Croatoan. On another tree, the letters Crow were etched into the bark. Croatoan was the name of a nearby island, now known as Hatteras Island, and the homeland of a friendly tribe led by Chief Manteo, an ally of the English. Relief washed over White. He believed the colonists, facing starvation, had simply moved to live with their friends on Croatoan. He prepared to sail there immediately to find them. But the Atlantic Ocean had other plans. A violent hurricane began to form, snapping the ship's anchor cables and threatening to sink the vessel. The captain refused to go further, forcing them to return to England. John White never made it to Croatoan. He died years later, never knowing the fate of his daughter or his granddaughter. Over the centuries, the disappearance of the 116 colonists has become a canvas for historians and storytellers. What truly happened in those 3 lost years? One prevalent theory suggests assimilation. Many historians believe the settlers, realizing help wasn't coming, integrated with the Croatoan or other nearby tribes to survive. Years later, settlers in North Carolina reported seeing Native Americans with gray eyes and fair skin who spoke broken English. In recent years, the Lost Colony DNA Project has attempted to trace the lineage of local families to see if they carry the genetic markers of those original settlers. Others suggest a darker fate. Some theorize that the colonists fell victim to disease or starvation during the harsh winters, forcing them to split into smaller groups that perished in the wilderness. Another possibility is violence, not from the Croatoan, but perhaps the Powhatan Confederacy further north or even the Spanish, who were patrolling the coast and wanted to eliminate English presence. There are also the Dare Stones, a series of rocks found in the 1930s inscribed with messages allegedly written by Eleanor Dare, detailing the death of the colonists. While most are considered hoaxes, the first stone is still debated by some scholars as potentially authentic. Modern science is trying to pierce the veil of time. Archaeological teams using ground-penetrating radar and satellite imaging have focused on areas inland, designated as Site X on John White's old maps. There they have found fragments of English pottery and metalwork, hinting that a splinter group might have moved inland to live with the Roanoke tribe. Yet no smoking gun, no definitive grave or journal has ever been found. Today, Roanoke Island possesses an undeniable eerie atmosphere. The forests feel too still, the shadows a little too long. The wind echoes through the ancient live oaks, carrying the scent of salt and pine. Visitors often describe a strange sense of absence, a heaviness in the air, as if the land itself remembers the people who vanished. It is a ghost story without a ghost, a puzzle with missing pieces. 116 men, women, and children, an entire community, disappeared from history. Did they find peace with their neighbors? Did they perish waiting for a ship that came too late? Roanoke remains a whisper carried by the wind, a humble reminder of the fragility of human stories against the vastness of time. Thank you for joining this journey into one of history's most haunting mysteries. If you enjoyed this calm storytelling and want more mysteries, legends, and historical deep dives, please like this video and subscribe to Curivella. Your support helps us create more content like this, and it truly means a lot. Now, turn down the lights. Sit back, relax, and let's step quietly into the past.